Hello, my dear friends. Today, our chapter is Electoral Politics of Class Ninth from Polity textbook. So, its chapter is about the elections, the electoral constituencies, and the by-elections, like that. So many things we have to study. So, first of all, the elections can lead to changes in the policy of the government. Okay, the elections can lead to changes in the policy of the government. And the first part is, why do we need elections? So, in each 5-year period, we are conducting certain elections, general elections, by elections, like that, in a regional level as well as state, central level. So, why do we need elections? That's the question here. So, we can start now. The elections takes place to choose people's representatives. Okay, the elections that take place to choose the people's representative. In most democracies, the people rule through their representatives. Okay, the people rule through their own representatives. The people can resolve the problems of who is more experienced or knowledgeable. Uh, we know in an election the people are electing their representatives because they are well known about those that representatives. Okay, if and because the people are well known about their experiences, their knowledge, etc. Election is the mechanism in which people choose their representatives at regular intervals and change them if they wish to do so. So, the people has the right, or people has the power to elect their own favorite representatives, and has also the power to remove them from their positions by and the elections. Parties and candidates should be free to contest. So, there are certain political parties are there, candidates are there, so they should be free to contest. Elections should be conducted in a free and fair manner where people can choose as they really wish. Okay, so the election should be conducted in a free and fair manner so that all people can participate in an election in an equal manner with equal dignity. There are political competitions in elections. We know in each elections it is common that a lot of competitions are there in elections. Electoral competition has many demerits. It creates a sense of disunity and fractionalism in every locality. So, this type of electoral competitions has many demerits also. These electoral competitions may create a sense of disunity. Okay, disunity and fractionalism in every locality. And regular electoral competition provides incentives to political parties and leaders. So, when the electoral competitions are conducted in a regular manner, it provides incentives to political parties and leaders. The political competition may cause divisions and some ugliness, ugliness. Okay, political competition may cause some types of divisions and some ugliness, but it finally helps to force political parties and leaders to serve the peoples. Okay, so these types of political competition is there, and after that, the after selecting or electing the powerful ruling parties, then they tend to serve the people. Okay, and also the Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha elections are held regularly after every 5 years. So the Lok Sabha elections and assembly elections. So Vidhan Sabha elections is otherwise called assembly elections. So, Lok Sabha elections and assembly elections are held regularly after every 5 years. The elections are held in all constituencies of the same time at the same time, either on the same day or within a few days. This is called general election. So, friends, there are general election and by election. So, what is a general election? The elections that are held in all constituencies. Elections that are held in all constituencies at the same time, either on the same day or within a few days. So, this is general election. Then comes by election. Sometimes elections is held only for one constituency to fill the vacancy caused by death or the resignation of a member. This is called by election. So, friends, sometimes the members may vacant a space or due to death or resignation, so that this space has to be filled, so that in certain constituencies by elections are happening. Then electoral constituencies. What are electoral constituencies? So, in our country, we follow an area based system of representation. So, in our country, we follow an area based representation. Country is divided into different areas for the purposes of elections. So, the country is divided into different areas for purposes of elections. These areas are called electoral constituencies. Okay, these areas are called electoral constituencies. So, I repeat, in our country, we follow an area based system of representation. Country is divided into different areas for the purposes of elections. These areas are called electoral constituencies. Then the voters who live in an area elect one representative. So the voters in a particular area or particular electoral constituencies electing one representative. Then for Lok Sabha elections, the country is divided into 543 constituencies. Okay. For Lok Sabha elections, the country is divided into 543 constituencies. The representative elected from each constituency is called a member of parliament or MP. Okay. For Lok Sabha elections, the country is divided into 543 constituencies. The representative elected from each constituency is called a member of parliament or MP. Then, one of the features of a democratic election is that every vote should have equal value. So, in the previous chapters, we have also understood that every vote by each and every people in India has every equal value. Okay, equal value. That is one vote has one value. Then that is why our constitution requires that each constituency should have a roughly equal populations living within it. So I have said that one of the features of a democratic election is that every vote should have equal value. That is why our constitution requires that each constituency should have a roughly equal population living within it. Okay, so when each and every constituencies have equal number of people, then they get equal value for the votes. Each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies. Okay, each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies. In this case, the elected representative is called MLA, that is member of legislative assembly. Okay, what is an MLA? Who is an MLA? Each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies. In this case, the elected representative is called an MLA or member of legislative assembly. Each parliamentary constituency has within it several assembly constituencies. Each parliamentary constituency has within it several assembly constituencies. So, the assembly constituencies come within parliamentary constituencies. Then there are panchayat elections as well as municipal elections. We know that each village or town is divided into wards. Okay, WARD, wards. Wards are like constituencies. Sometimes these constituencies are counted as seats. So each village or town is divided into wards that are like constituencies. Sometimes these constituencies are counted as seats. So sometimes these wards are counted as seats. For each constituency represents one seat in the assembly. So for each constituency represents one seat in the assembly. When we say that the Lokdal is a political party in Haryana. Okay, it is an example here. When we say that the Lokdal won 60 seats in Haryana, the candidates of Lokdal won in 60 assembly constituencies in the state, and thus Lokdal had 60 MLAs in the state assembly. So friends, carefully listen. When we say that the Lokdal won 60 seats in Haryana, so Lokdal is a political party. If we think that the Lokdal won 60 seats in Haryana, then the candidates of Lokdal won in 60 assembly constituencies. Okay, that is 60 seats in Haryana means the candidates of Lokdal won in 60 assembly constituencies in the states, and thus Lokdal had 60 MLAs in the legislative assembly. Then comes the reserved constituencies. Some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to be SCs and STs. Okay. So friends, some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to the SC and STs. In a SC reserved constituency, only someone who belongs to the SC can stand for elections. So some of the reserved seats are there in constituencies for SCs, STs, women, etc. So there are some specified seats are there for these types of categories. In a SC reserved constituency, only someone who belongs to the SC can stand for elections. Similarly, in a ST reserved constituency, only someone who belongs to the ST can stand for election. Currently in Lok Sabha, there are 84 seats are allocated for SCs, and 47 seats are allocated STs, and 412 seats are for general categories. So this number is in proportion to their share in the total population. So this number is taken as an account with the total population. Their share, that is the share of their community in total population. The reserved seats for SCs and STs do not take away the legitimate share of any other social group. So, due to this reservation for SC and STs, no one can take away this legitimate share of any other social groups. Okay. In many states, in many seats, that is seats in rural panchayat, urban municipalities, corporations, local bodies are reserved for OBC as well. So here we have said that some of the seats are reserved for SC and STs, and in rural areas, that is in panchayat, and in urban areas, that is municipalities, corporations like local bodies are reserved for OBC as well. For OBC also, some of the seats are reserved in urban as well as rural areas. The proportion of the seats reserved varies from state to state. Okay, so according with the depending on the population in an area and the state, the proportion of seats reserved also varies. Similarly, one third of seats are reserved in rural and urban local bodies for women candidates. So, for women candidates, also there is an allocation of seats. Then here saying about voters list. Once the constituencies are decided, the next step is to decide who can and who cannot vote. So we know there is a voters list is uh, preparing in each constituencies. In a democratic election, this list of those who are eligible to vote is prepared much before the election and given to everyone. This list is officially called the electoral roll or voters list. So, friends, we are talking about the voters list or electoral roll. So, in a democratic election, the list of people who are eligible to vote is prepared much before the election and given to everyone. So before the election, we all get the list, that is the voter electoral roll or voters list, so that we can understand from each family who can vote. Okay, who can vote. Then some criminals and persons with unsound minds can be denied the right to vote, but only in rare situations. So in rare situations, some of the criminals cannot be allowed to vote. And it is the responsibility of the government to get the name of all the eligible voters put on the voters list. So it is the duty of the government to get the names of all the eligible voters on the voters list. Then new persons names are added, and those who dead are removed from the list. So from the voters list, the dead persons names are removed, and the new persons names are get added. Now a new system called election photo ID card that is introduced in this election system. Okay, election photo ID card. So when we go to cast vote, the election photo ID card has to be shown for them. Then comes the nomination of candidates. Anyone who can be a voter can also come as a candidate in election. So who can um, who can be the candidate in election? Anyone who can be a voter can also come as a candidate in election. In order to be a candidate, the minimum age is 25. So in order to be a candidate, the minimum age is 25. Political parties nominate their candidates who get the party symbol and support. So the political parties nominate their candidates who get the party symbol and support. The party's nomination is often called the party ticket. Okay. So what is a party ticket? The party's nomination is often called party ticket. Every person who wishes to contest an election has to fill a nomination form and give some money as security deposit. So when a person is going to become a candidate in election, then he has to fill a nomination form and give some money as security deposit. Then recently there is a new system by Supreme Court. By that, every candidate has to make a legal declaration giving full details of serious criminal cases pending against the candidate, details of assets and liabilities of the candidate and his or her family, and also educational qualification of the candidate. So the recently the a new system is there by Supreme Court, and by that order it is saying that every candidate has to make a legal declaration giving full details of serious criminal cases pending against the candidate, details of assets and liabilities of candidate and his or her family, then also educational qualifications of the candidate. This information has to be made public and it helps the voters to vote accordingly. So most of the time the people may be unaware of the qualifications or criminal background or the uh, exact behavior of particular candidate, so that a candidate must prepare legal declaration involving all these things. Then the principle of electoral system. Okay, principle of electoral system. Universal adult franchise we know, and it is one of the principle of electoral system. Okay, mainly four principles are involved in electoral system. The first one is universal adult franchise. Second is representation of weaker sections. Representation of weaker sections. Third is open political competition. What is open political competition? Then one vote, one value. So, main four principles of electoral system are universal adult franchise, representation of weaker sections, open political competition, one vote, one value. Then comes election campaign. The election campaign, its main purpose of uh, election is to give people a chance to choose representatives, government, and the policies they prefer. So, the main purpose of election is to give people a chance to choose representatives, governments, the policies they prefer. Then, in an election commission, sorry, in an election campaign, this is necessary to have a free and open discussion about who is the better representative, which party will make a better government, or what is a good policy. Okay, so in a election campaign, it is necessary to have a free and open discussion about who is better representative and which party will make a better government, or what is a good policy. In our country, such campaigns take place for a 2 week period between the announcement of the final list of candidates and the date of polling. So, in our country, such campaigns take place for a 2 week period between the announcement of final list of candidates and the date of polling. In election campaigns, political parties try to focus public attention on some big issues. So, during election time, in election campaigns, the political parties try to focus public attention on some big issues, so that the people get an interest in those political parties. In and also some of the slogans are given here by some of the famous leaders of India. The Garibi Hadao, by that is means remove poverty. This slogan was given by Indira Gandhi in 1971 during the emergency period. Okay, Garibi Hadao, that is remove poverty. Then save democracy. It is by Jayaprakash Narayan, whose party is Janata Party. Okay, and this save democracy as a slogan given in Lok Sabha election 1977. Then Then in the West Bengal Assembly, there was a slogan that land to the tiller. What? Land to the tiller. Then protect the self-respect of Telugus by N.T. Ramarao. So N.T. Ramarao is the leader of Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh. N.T. Ramarao is the leader of Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh, and his slogan is protect the self-respect of Telugus. So some of the things are given, that is according to the election law, no party or candidates can bribe, threaten voters and appeal to them in the name of caste, religion, etc. So friends, here some of the things are given, that is uh, according to the election laws, uh, candidates or parties do not do any types of bribe, threat, and they do not uh, that is, they don't have the right to threaten the voters for casting votes, and they don't have to appeal to them in the name of caste or religion, and they and it is wrong that using government resources for election campaigns, so they don't have to uh, they don't need to use any kind of government resources for election campaign, and spending more than 25 lakhs in a constituency for a lots of election, or 10 lakh in a constituency in an assembly is also wrong. So, according to the election law, no party or candidate can bribe, threaten voters, appeal to them in the name of caste or religion, use government resources for election campaign, and spend more than 25 lakh in a constituency for a Lok Sabha election, or 10 lakh in a constituency in an assembly. In an assembly election, okay. And if they do so, okay, if they are doing so, their election can be rejected by the court even after they have been declared elected. So if the authority is recognized that the candidate or party is doing all these things, then they can be rejected by the court even after they have been declared elected. And then, in addition to the laws, all the political parties in our country have agreed to a model, that is code of conduct for election campaigns. So, in addition to the laws, all the political parties in our country have agreed to a model that is called code of conduct for election campaigns. Then, according to this code of conduct, no party or candidate can use any place of worship for election propaganda, use of government vehicle, aircrafts and officials for elections. So friends, the use of place according to this code of conduct, no party or candidate can use any place of worship for election propaganda, and use government vehicles, aircrafts and officials for elections. Then once elections are announced, ministers shall not lay foundation stones of any projects, take any his policy decisions, or make any promises of providing public facilities. So, once the elections are announced, the ministers shall not lay foundation stones of any projects, takes any his policy decisions, or make any promises of providing public facilities. So, during the elections, the government or the political parties or the big political ruling party cannot it's do not allowed to provide any kind of big schemes, decisions, policies for the people. So, and then comes the polling and counting of votes. Okay, polling and counting of votes. Uh, polling booth is in a local school or a government office. So, mostly the polling booths are situated in local schools or government offices. An agent of each candidate is allowed to sit inside the polling booth and ensure that the voting takes place in a fair way. So that an agent of each candidate, okay, agent of each candidate is allowed to sit inside the polling booth and ensure that the voting takes place in a fair manner. Then the agents of all candidates are present there to ensure that the counting is done properly. So the agents of certain all the candidates are inside the polling booth in order to ensure that the counting is done in a proper manner. In a general election, the counting of votes in all the constituencies takes place at the same time on the same day. So, we have studied what is the general election. So, in a general election, counting of votes in all the constituencies takes place at the same time on the same day. Uh, there may be fair and unfair electoral practices may be there in during election, so that only fair things has to be followed, so that the election should be conducted in a free and fair manner. Then comes what makes elections in India democratic. Okay, what makes elections in India democratic? uh, we know there is chief election commissioner is in India. This chief election commissioner is elected by the president. Okay. Then, once appointed, the chief election commissioner is not answerable to the president or the government, even if the ruling party or the government does not like what the commission does. It is virtually impossible for it. Impossible to remove a chief election commissioner. So, a chief election commissioner is there in India and who is elected by the president. So, once election commissioner is appointed, then this chief election commissioner is not answerable to the president or the government. Even if the ruling party or the government does not like what the commission does, it is virtually impossible for to remove the chief election commissioner. And when an election duty, government officers work under the control of election commissioner and not the government. So when an election duty, the government officers are working under the control of election commissioner and not the government. The election commissioner implements the code of conduct and punishes the violations made by the parties or candidates. So it is the election commissioner who implement the code of conduct and policy code of conduct, and he can punish on violations made by the parties or candidates. Okay. Then when election officials came to the opinion that polling was not fair in some booths or even an entire constituency, they order a repoll. Okay. So the election commissioner as also can stop a polling because they knew that the polling was not held in a fair manner in some booth or even in a entire constituency, then they can order to repoll. Okay. Then, if the election process is not free or fair, the people will not continue to participate in the exercise. So, if the people think that this election process is not free and fair, then the people um, don't don't the people don't have any interest in voting activities. The people's participation in election is usually measured by voter turnout figures. So, what is mean by voter turnout figures? This turnout indicates the percentage of eligible voters who cast their vote. So, the voter turnout means the percentage of eligible voters who can cast their votes. So, people's participation in election is usually measured by voter turnout figures. In India, over the last 50 years, turnout has either remained stable or actually gone up. So in India, over the last 50 years, the turnout has either remained stable or actually gone up. In India, the poor, illiterate, and underprivileged people vote in large proportion as compared to the rich and privileged sections. Okay, in India, the poor, illiterate, and underprivileged people who vote in large proportion as compared to the rich and privileged sections. The interest of the voters in election related activities has been increasing over the years. So it is saying that, and the report says that over the years there is an increasing interest of the people to voting related activities, that is elections. Then then it is the glossary here. So here we can see the voter turnout, and there's this election year. Okay, so there is a gradual increase in the participation of people in the election related activities. Mostly the rural people have more interest in these activities. Then the glossary here, friends. A code of conduct, that means a set of norms and guidelines to be followed by political parties and contesting candidates during election time. So code of conduct means set of norms and guidelines to be followed by the political parties and contesting candidates during election time. And constituency, then incumbent means current holder of a political office. Incumbent means current holder of a political office. Then rigging means fraud and malpractices indulged by a party or candidate to increase its votes. So rigging. What is rigging? Rigging means fraud and malpractices indulged by a party or candidate to increase its votes. Then turnout. Turnout means the percentage of eligible voters who cast their votes in an election. So friends, I think you get an overall idea about these elections, and chief election commissioner, and general election, by elections, polling voters list, reserved constituencies, and all about the electoral constituencies, assembly constituencies, like that. So friends, I conclude here, and please support me and give your feedbacks, and then only we can improve and upload these kind of videos as well. Okay, thank you so much. Have a nice day, friends.